good, y'all? You already know what it is, man. This is T Paris, aka the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit, most original, most creative, most in tune with the times, and I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is P's Perspective. Let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. We're gonna continue right along with last week's episode. We're talking about the emasculation of black men here. Now, this week I want to get right into some examples because we had a lot of dope dialogue from last week. So, with these examples and just some of the thoughts that people said, I thought it would take the dialogue somewhere different. First, I want to mention Justin Bieber. You know what I'm saying? Justin Bieber doing a lot of drugs. You know, his little antics where they saying that he want to be a quote-unquote thug. You know, when he get in trouble in the world, they look at that like that's just an isolated incident, right? They don't look and say, oh, you know, all the young white boys of in America are under attack for being labeled as thugs. They look at that as just one incident. You know what I'm saying? One young man who's having a bad time. He's going through a phase in his life. You know what I'm saying? How about Jason Holmes? That's the Dark Knight killer. You know what I'm saying? He killed 12 people, injured 58 people. And over the course of 2 months, he bought over 6,000, you know what I'm saying, rounds of ammunition. And then when he went to court, you know, they said that he was, you know, mentally unstable to face trial. You know, another isolated incident. You know, when this happened, they didn't start talking about, you know, take all the guns off the shelves. You know, no more movies of gun violence. You know, all, you know, white men from suburbia, you know, or threats or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And this right here wasn't even deemed a terrorist attack. Yeah, this was like a massacre, you know what I'm saying? 12 people, 58 people hurt, 6,000 rounds. You know, I don't know if you really understand, you know, what I'm trying to share with you right here. It's like, if somebody of color did that, that's open and shut, under the jail. You understand what I'm saying? The Justin Bieber situation, when you get a young black male, you know what I'm saying, acting quote unquote, you know, disrespectful in the public eye, what happened to them? Bobby Shmurda, you know what I'm saying? Think about that for a minute. Bobby Shmurda and Justin Bieber, you know what I'm saying? 2 young men in the public eye. And look, they both, you know what I'm saying, living similar lifestyles. You know what I'm saying? Justin Bieber trying to imitate one. Look where it landed Bobby Shmurda. Justin Bieber ain't doing that type of time. Just something to think about, you know? It's just my opinion that when they portray the white image, you know what I'm saying, versus the black image, with white people, it's more of an isolated incident. They don't label like, this is the whole entire culture, whereas with people of color, you know, they look at us like this is the way we all are. You take, for example, the situation with Trayvon Martin. He was a victim, you know what I'm saying? They painted that picture like because he was a young black man with a hoodie on, you know what I'm saying, he was deemed a threat. And so now they got all these young black men in the world feeling like if they walk around with them hoods on, you know, they're a threat. And why are they doing that? Because they want people to be able to look at you and target you, you know what I'm saying, profiling. Right out the crowd, he got the hoodie on, you know, he must be the one that's dangerous or detrimental to our society. You know, look at what OJ, he beat the trial, the murder trial, and they still took him to court for the civil trial. You know what I'm saying? He had to pay that money. How you beat a murder trial, but you still end up paying the civil, you know what I'm saying, the civil case. You know, you can't be wrong and be right. I mean, but that's just the world that, you know what I'm saying, that we live in. I want to take a look at some of these comedians, you know, Kevin Hart, for example. I have put that picture up with Kevin Hart, you know, braiding the guy's hair in a new movie. And I think it sparked a lot of great dialogue, you know. One of the things that was mentioned was just sexuality, you know what I'm saying? And man, you know, was the perception supposed to be deemed as something that you should look at based upon the sexuality of men? You got a black man braiding a white man's hair. The other thing was just the roles, you know what I'm saying, of people of color. The black man Kevin Hart being a professional criminal and teaching somebody else how to be a criminal, you know, why he couldn't be a doctor or lawyer. I know to some people, you know what I'm saying, that's a piece of satire, but I guess you can't find no human, no white man, I mean a black man being successful, huh? That's crazy, but you know, just think about that for a second, you know, when people of color, you know, reach that certain plateau, in order for them to, you know, to get over the hump, they got to do something that basically compromise your manhood. And an example of that would be, you know, Dave Chappelle. He spoke in a video about when he was doing a comedy show and he came to the trail and they had the dress laid out. And he, you know, was explaining to them he didn't want to wear the dress, why he had to do the dress. And they telling him about how funny it was, you know, And he, as a comedian, spoke about how he noticed all, great comedians of color, had to do that. The Wayans brothers, Martin Lawrence, Jamie Foxx, why is it that in order for us to reach this plateau of success, we got to do that? Why we can't just be based upon, the content that we bring to the table? They making you laugh. I don't know. It's just my opinion. If sexuality is such a taboo, topic in the media, then why is it so easy for them to portray these images on, black men? They tell us that the whole gangster image is no good, but then when you turn on the TV, the only image that they portraying now is one with men, are showing feminine traits. And I find that, real difficult, to adjust to, because that's not the way that I was raised. And if I had a son, that's not the way that I would want to raise my son. I had put up the video with Rich Homie Quan, and he was doing some dance called the Percocet. Now, think about that for a second. A Percocet, that's these psychotropic medications that people are taking out here in these streets, and they're having, detrimental effects on them. That's number one. That's the name of the dance. Two, he twerking around like a female, and somebody commented on it, looked like he had got initiated at that moment. And basically what they just were saying is like they asked him to do certain things, to compromise his manhood, just to show that he, he's a part of whatever it is that you have to be a part of to become successful. Because it's obvious that it's a box that they want us to get into, and if we don't get into this box, that we're not going to be able to make it successful. Now, when we first spoke upon these topics, we had quite a few people who were commenting. And I guess when we do the recap, we'll get into some of the comments. But some of the comments, has stood out. I want to give a shout out to my man Dougie Fresh. I went to college with Doug. Doug, very intelligent friend of mine. And he said to me that he doesn't see how the powers, could change the goals. And I thought that was a good little question right there, statement. And he said that, people make trade-offs, when becoming successful. But I feel like when there's people of color reaching a certain level of success, it's not really a trade-off. It's a sacrifice, And he, needed some examples. And I just spoke about, Michael Jordan. Y'all remember when Michael Jordan had went through the situation with his dad, and his dad got killed. And, he had wanted to leave Chicago, a lot of difficulties with the money and things like that. It was a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on, gambling debts and stuff like that. And then his pops turned up missing. And as big as Michael Jordan was, they ain't really make that a big issue, on the news, They never really went as far into it as you thought that they might. When you listen to a story now about Michael Jordan, they talk about all the points and all that stuff that he did, but why they didn't go as far as trying to find his killers and the reasons why. And I think part of that was just, another way to instill some fear in the man of color. You're going to do as we tell you to do when we tell you to do it, I'm a basketball player, so, to some people that might be looked upon as a conspiracy, but for me, I followed that basketball career a lot, and I just thought that was kind of strange that when that happened, they ain't really, touch upon that too much. What about Biggie and Tupac? They both died and never really got a clear picture on who did it or why. And, it's just my opinion, but I think Big was just a casualty of Pac. Pac being so intelligent and having these plans to, become independent and do his own thing. And I think that was a perfect segue into, making it look like it was the East Coast, West Coast beef, because they wanted to get rid of him and they allegedly had some type of issue going back and forth. But when you step back and look at it, again, as young black men of color, reaching out to be entertainers, Pac was very powerful. And again, people wanted him to close his mouth. And then for him to turn up dead and they never be able to find out who did it or why, another, situation when they trying to instill that fear. All of these are examples of the emasculation of a man, trying to strip us of our power, our worth, letting us know what we've done for, the community. And just the culture on the whole, the world, society, period. DJ Jalissy from overseas said that this is the issue that men of all races, not just men of color, deal with. And I told him I agree. I think it is an issue that all men, deal with. But I want to let you know why I decided to focus on men of color. Because I think that if I would have just focused on all men, it would give out the notion that all men are created equal. And all men aren't created equal. Notice, these examples that I gave, I pointed out how people of color, having to make these sacrifices in order to be successful. When you turn on the television, you don't see, these Caucasian people dressed up in dresses and acting like the men acting like females and things of that nature, to become successful. But you see people of color, degrading themselves and, acting in ignorant manners and, testing their sexuality, all the time. And this is just, so they could get a spot on television and be known as, somebody that's successful. And so while I do agree, all men deal with this, I think that it's an issue that people of color, primarily deal with. Now, I know some people probably will, wonder how could we combat this issue. I personally just think that we as black men have to try to make more positive images, and not be afraid of how society is going to deem them, If you put 10 black men all with hoodies and black skellies on, I think everybody would agree, that image look like, gangster. But if you put 10 black men in 10 business suits, all shaped up and lined up, looking real handsome and sharp, I think that would, scare society to some degree because they don't know what their intentions are. And so if we continue to make more positive images about ourselves, they ain't going to have a choice but to put those out there, stop falling victim to the easy way out. And I'm not pointing fingers at nobody, it's easy for us to say that, society, does this to us. And I do feel like they give us a short end of the stick. But, with a lot of us saying we don't watch TV, we don't really listen to the radio that much, a lot of people do say that. Then that means most of these images, are images that we're seeing or that, we are in relation to based upon social media or, some other type of communication or interaction. And so when you interacting with these people, you got to give them something they could walk away with and feel like, that's somebody I want to be remembered. First impression always leave a lasting impression. And so if we have more positive images of ourselves, reaching to be more educated scholars, doctors, lawyers, things of that nature, not just entertainers, then they can't put us in these boxes, And this is T. Paris, man, Young Marvin Gaye, this shit, emasculation of black men. Toast to the town. Peace, perspective, peace.